Mayoral candidate will be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is
a mayoral candidate being challenged. The saga surrounding embattled South Suburban politician Tiffany Henyard.
Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dolton, Illinois, and supervisor of Thornton Township, has once again found herself at the center of a storm, dominating headlines for all the wrong reasons. Her story has become a whirlwind of political chaos, power struggles, lawsuits, and public outrage, each new twist only escalating the drama. If you thought the situation in Thornton Township couldn't get any more tangled, think again. The controversy surrounding Henyard has now reached a boiling point, with the ripple effects being felt far and wide across the community. From shutting down critical government services to locking residents out of township offices, Henyard's actions have left many questioning how the situation has spiraled so far out of control. The fallout from her decisions is not just an inconvenience. It's created a profound disruption to the daily lives of those who rely on the township for essential services. Residents, employees, and advocacy groups alike have been left scrambling, and with each new controversy, the situation only grows more intense. The public is left asking a difficult question: how is this still happening? As Henyard's leadership continues to be called into question, the community remains in turmoil, grappling with the fallout from a series of decisions that have shaken trust in local governance to its core.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard was not at the hearing here today. Neither was her attorney, and she was not made available for a comment.
Let's start with the latest bombshell that sent shockwaves through the community: a full-blown government shutdown in Thornton Township. Yes, you heard that right. The township, which provides essential services to residents, has been forced to close its doors due to the Board of Trustees' inability to show up for meetings. This is not a one-off incident. It's become a recurring problem. For the fifth time in recent weeks, a meeting had to be canceled because there weren't enough trustees present to form a quorum. Without a quorum, the board cannot conduct basic township business, such as renewing crucial insurance policies. The implications are staggering. Without the necessary insurance, the township is unable to legally operate, leading to the shutdown of vital services. Residents who rely on the township for things like food assistance and transportation to medical appointments are now left in the lurch, scrambling to find alternatives. Meanwhile, township employees are facing the very real possibility of layoffs, just days before the holiday season, further adding to the stress and uncertainty. This ongoing dysfunction has left the community reeling, as critical services hang in the balance, and the clock ticks down with no resolution in sight. It's a crisis that's shaking the very foundation of Thornton Township, and many are left wondering how long it will take before the situation reaches a breaking point.
Off behind me, the doors are locked here, and there's a sign on the building right now that says it's closed. For how long? Neither residents nor employees know it.
As expected, Henyard has wasted no time in shifting the blame for the ongoing dysfunction. In a recording from a recent meeting, she unleashed a scathing critique of the absent trustees, Carmen Carlisle and Chris Gonzalez, accusing them of neglecting their duties and essentially holding the township hostage. According to Henyard, their refusal to attend meetings is a deliberate attempt to block her from filling a vacant trustee position, one that could provide the crucial tea-breaking vote she needs to push through her agenda. It's not high school, Henyard declared, clearly exasperated by the gridlock, as she tried to paint the deadlock as an unjustifiable obstacle to progress. However, Henyard's critics see the situation in a vastly different light. Trustee Chris Gonzalez was quick to fire back, accusing Henyard of attempting to consolidate too much power. He warned that appointing her chosen trustee could pave the way for more financial mismanagement and unchecked spending, issues that have already tainted Henyard's record. "We've been working hard to keep tabs on things like that," Gonzalez remarked, hinting at Henyard's controversial history of questionable financial decisions. His comments underline the deep mistrust many have toward Henyard's leadership, with critics fearing that a move to push through her preferred trustee could further enable a pattern of fiscal irresponsibility. This growing back and forth between Henyard and her critics highlights the increasingly polarized and fractious nature of the township's political environment. As the gridlock continues, the stakes are high, not just for Henyard's agenda, but for the future of the community itself.
Job is to govern, to provide a way provide services. And we're not doing that because they're stalling government, gridlocking it, because they can't have their...
The controversy surrounding Tiffany Henyard's leadership is nothing short of staggering. For months, Henyard has been under federal investigation, with suspicions of financial mismanagement swirling around her actions as both mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township. Allegations of improper use of taxpayer funds have followed her at every turn, painting a picture of a leader whose tenure has been marked by questionable decisions. One particularly glaring example involved a taxpayer-funded trip to a concert that cost a staggering $85,000, despite the event having only a sparse attendance. But the financial mismanagement doesn't end there. Henyard's namesake cancer charity was shut down after it failed to properly account for how donations were spent, further fueling concerns over her handling of public and charitable funds. In addition to these scandals, her office was accused of making unaccounted for purchases, including an astonishing $40,000 spent on Amazon in a single day. These revelations have only deepened the community's growing frustration, as residents increasingly feel that Henyard's leadership is more about personal gain than serving the public. It's no surprise that tensions are running high. The real business isn't being done because of all this nonsense, said one fed-up resident, encapsulating the frustration felt by many. The constant stream of scandals and investigations has left the community feeling disillusioned and angry, as essential services are sidelined and critical issues go unaddressed. The township's focus has shifted from solving real problems to dealing with the fallout from Henyard's ongoing controversies, leaving many to wonder if the situation will ever improve.
And no comment from Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Voters here will first head to the polls in February for the primary election, then the general mayoral election.
Henyard's troubles extend far beyond the financial scandals and governance crises that have already made headlines. She is now embroiled in a bitter legal battle with the Democratic Party of Thornton Township after being unceremoniously booted from the ballot for next year's election. The drama unfolded earlier this month during a rare Democratic caucus, where State Senator Mapoon Harris, the party's committeeman, led a voice vote that ultimately excluded Henyard from the slate of candidates. Henyard wasted no time in denouncing the process, claiming that the vote was rigged and accusing Harris of voter suppression. She further alleged that her supporters were intentionally locked out of the caucus venue, making it impossible for them to participate in the decision-making. "It's about control," Henyard said during a press conference. "They can't beat me, so they're trying to shut me out." Her claims have stirred further division, as Henyard paints the situation as an unfair power grab by the party establishment. Harris, however, strongly refutes Henyard's accusations, insisting that the caucus was conducted according to party rules and state laws. Her claims are garbage, Harris declared, dismissing Henyard's allegations as baseless. He maintains that the process was fair and in line with established protocols, and that Henyard's exclusion was the result of her failure to meet the party's criteria, not a conspiracy against her. This legal battle has only added another layer of complexity to Henyard's already controversial tenure. As she faces off against the very party she has long been a part of, the drama surrounding her leadership continues to spiral, leaving the community and her supporters divided on whether this latest conflict will mark the end of her political career or another chapter in her struggle for power.
Manipulation. Nobody likes being manipulated, and when you get here, you know that's exactly what's happening.
To make matters even more complicated, Henyard is now facing a fierce challenge to retain her seat as mayor of Dolton, where she is up against senior trustee Jason House. House has emerged as a vocal critic of Henyard's administration, calling it chaotic and unethical. He has been leading the charge to unseat her, pledging that if elected, he will restore much-needed checks and balances to the village and prioritize ethics reform, positioning himself as a candidate for accountability and transparency. In response, Henyard has vowed to fight back, recently announcing her re-election bid on social media. In a defiant post, she referred to herself as a super mayor and promised to bring change to the community, framing herself as the only leader capable of turning things around. However, Henyard's pledge to bring change has been met with a great deal of skepticism, particularly from many residents who remain deeply disillusioned by her controversial track record. Given the series of scandals, financial mismanagement, and governance issues that have plagued her tenure, There is growing doubt among the community about whether Henyard can truly deliver on her promises, or if her latest campaign is merely another attempt to consolidate power in the face of mounting opposition. As the race for Dolton's mayoral seat heats up, the stakes couldn't be higher. The outcome of this battle will not only determine Henyard's political future, but also set the tone for the direction of the village in the years to come. With House positioning himself as a reformer and Henyard doubling down on her leadership, Dolton residents are left to wonder if they will finally see the change they've been yearning for, or if they will be forced to endure more of the same political turmoil.
It's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Wow.
Let's talk about the title of this, because it's called Super Mayor, and that is what Tiffany Henyard calls her.
The tension between Henyard and her critics escalated significantly this week when she unexpectedly closed the Thornton Township government offices. On arrival, both residents and employees were met with locked doors and a sign posted outside announcing the abrupt closure. Among those left in the dark were Township Assessor Jacqueline D. Brown and her staff, who found themselves caught off guard by the sudden decision. Brown expressed her frustration, emphasizing that no prior notice or communication had been provided, leaving her and her team unprepared for the unexpected shutdown. "We got no notification, no warning, nothing," Brown said, clearly exasperated by the lack of transparency and advance warning.
Today, folks met by this sign.
Okay, here I am, and they disappeared now.
Henyard defended the abrupt shutdown as a necessary measure, attributing the decision to the absent trustees who, she claimed, had been obstructing the progress of government business. However, her critics countered that the issue of renewing insurance could have easily been resolved without requiring board approval. They accused Henyard of using the matter as a strategic ploy to force a meeting and push through her preferred trustee appointment. Trustee Carlisle condemned the situation, calling it irresponsible, and warning that playing political games with essential public services could have far-reaching, detrimental effects. He further pointed out that the timing of the shutdown couldn't have been worse, given that the holiday season was fast approaching. Families who rely on the township's programs for support were now left in a state of uncertainty, facing disruption during a critical time when such services were needed most.
Trustee Carlisle called the situation irresponsible, warning that playing political games with essential services could have devastating consequences.
The ripple effects of the shutdown are already being keenly felt across the community, with residents who depend on township services, such as transportation for medical appointments and utility assistance, now scrambling to make alternative arrangements. Local advocacy organizations have stepped in to help, but they are struggling to meet the growing demand. "We're doing our best to assist, but these are essential services that the township is supposed to provide," one volunteer coordinator said, emphasizing the severity of the situation. "This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a crisis for people who already live on the edge." The uncertainty caused by the shutdown has led many to question whether the township's leadership is truly capable of prioritizing the needs of its most vulnerable residents. The frustration is compounded by the cancellation of the township's annual holiday toy giveaway, a cherished tradition that supports hundreds of local families each year. The event, which was scheduled for the upcoming weekend, was abruptly canceled due to the shutdown. Parents who had been relying on the program to provide gifts for their children have expressed their outrage, with some taking to social media to voice their frustration. "This is what happens when politics gets in the way of doing what's right," one resident posted. "Our kids are the ones paying the price." The abrupt cancellation of such a crucial event has only deepened the community's distrust in its leadership, with many residents calling for immediate action to resolve the crisis and restore vital services. The growing discontent reflects a broader concern about the ability of the township's leaders to put the welfare of their constituents ahead of political gamesmanship.
Hesitation is that if there's a person in there that will just say yes to everything, I mean, it will set us back.
As if the fallout from the shutdown weren't enough, Henyard's handling of the media has also raised serious concerns. During a recent hearing on candidate objections, Henyard invited reporters into a small office for a press conference, only for her staff to abruptly remove certain members of the press. Among those kicked out were Burgundy Blue, a local YouTuber who has been covering Henyard's controversies for months, as well as reporters from 2 local newspapers. Meanwhile, television crews were allowed to remain inside. Burgundy Blue, who has closely followed Henyard's actions, described the experience as frustrating but not entirely surprising. She's always trying to control the narrative, Blue said, implying that Henyard's behavior is part of a broader pattern of attempting to limit the media's freedom to report. The incident has sparked widespread outrage, both among journalists and residents, many of whom see it as an act of censorship. Critics argue that by selectively allowing certain media outlets access while excluding others, Henyard is not only stifling independent reporting, but also undermining transparency and accountability. This latest controversy has only fueled the growing distrust surrounding Henyard's leadership, further highlighting concerns about her approach to governance and her willingness to limit scrutiny.
We spoke to Henyard spokespeople today and trustees who are calling it a ploy.
What's going on? What do we do? What do we have?
The chaos surrounding Henyard has now seeped into her personal life, further complicating her already tumultuous public image. She is currently facing eviction from a home in Dolton after allegedly failing to pay rent for several months. Court documents reveal that her landlord is seeking over $13,000 in unpaid rent and damages. Although Henyard reportedly moved out of the property in October, her boyfriend, Kamal Wood, is still residing there. This legal dispute has only added fuel to the fire, with critics questioning how someone struggling with such severe financial instability can be trusted to effectively manage public funds. The situation has deepened residents' growing disillusionment with Henyard's leadership. Many have turned to social media to voice their frustration, with some even calling for her resignation or, more dramatically, her imprisonment. How is this woman not in prison by now? One commenter asked, a sentiment that reflects the mounting anger in the community. Another wrote, so tired of hearing about her. Can't they just get her out of there? How can she hold the township hostage like this? These kinds of posts are not isolated. They represent a widespread feeling of exasperation among residents who feel powerless as Henyard's controversies continue to unfold. The anger is also palpable at township meetings, where attendees watch as discussions devolve into shouting matches and finger-pointing. What were once forums for constructive dialogue have now become battlegrounds where frustration over Henyard's leadership reaches a boiling point. Many are left wondering how much longer the township will be held hostage by her actions, with calls for change growing louder by the day.
Need some action. Somebody that's actually going to do their job. How about that? Somebody that's come in, work for the people, not themselves, and have pictures all over.
It's become abundantly clear that Thornton Township and the village of Dolton are at a critical crossroads. The ongoing political infighting, financial scandals, and a glaring lack of accountability have left many residents feeling abandoned and betrayed by their leadership. As tensions continue to mount, there is a growing sense of frustration among the community, and many are now looking to the upcoming elections as a pivotal moment to bring about real, lasting change. However, with Henyard steadfastly refusing to back down, and her critics digging in their heels, it remains uncertain how this saga will unfold. Will Henyard manage to hold on to her positions, or will the mounting pressure finally force her to step down? More importantly, what will it take for the residents of Thornton Township and Dolton to see the transformative change they so desperately need? As the situation continues to develop, we want to hear from you. Are you in Henyard's corner, or do you think it's time for her to step aside? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates as this drama unfolds. Until next time, stay tuned.